I'm out to the east side of the persimmon orchard, and I'm doing round 3 of all time of the deer fence, brush wall deer fence. So essentially, we've got some stuff growing up in here, black locust, some ash sprouts, a bunch of other things, and that's just 2 years of growth. And I love black locust, but this is not the place where I love them. So I'm removing these stump sprouts. Interesting old stuff they threw out here. And I'm making a slash wall. And it has been incredibly effective. I'll show a little portion later on. This is 2 depositions already here. You can't really see it too well, the old stuff. But here, the new stuff you can see pretty well. And you can totally funnel deer in and out of certain places using this technique. Now, I'm not using it primarily for that purpose. It's mostly because I don't want to deal with this material, but I don't want it to always be in my way. And so, in a general sense, there is trees over there next to the road, planted, maintained, a lot of maintenance over there, mowing and grafting and pruning and all that kind of stuff. And then we've got a very intense rocky outcropping, probably 30 feet wide here. And it's more or less unmanageable. I mean, I could get it there if I really, really wanted to. I think I could, maintain this and plant more trees here. I don't really have too much a desire to do that. I did actually a little bit of planting in here, and I was surprised to see this cherry really took off. That was sort of surprising, but not that surprising, because cherries in my area, this is sweet cherry, they seem to be one that can take some competition. They really have a timber form. They want to grow straight up, get above the competition. You see these are black locust stems. These were right next to it. And it jumped up with the rest of them, and that's planted. So that one did really well. And then also, not super surprisingly, the peach that I just threw in here because I had one, didn't know what to do with it. Not so much. You can't really even see it from pretty close. It's alive, it's bush type. This is not really something that the peach can compete with. This is a very competitive scene. This is basically pure mugwort and black locust and other fast-growing trees. So anyway, I don't want big trees here. It's not easy to maintain. I try to mow the mugwort. Sometimes I don't in a given year, and it's not that big of a deal. But you can't have the trees encroaching, the black locust encroaching too close here. So to the actual forest edge, there's a sort of half-maintained zone here. So I'm going to take all the woody material, but I don't want to leave the woody material in here, because if I did that, then it would be impossible to get in here and continue maintaining it. So what I'd also don't really want to get chippers and necessarily, this is not dense material to make biochar. I don't really want to do much with it other than move it as little as possible. But I don't want to just make a random pile out of it that does nothing for me. So this is a good idea to use in that scenario where it's low value material. You don't want to put a lot of effort in, but you do want to get something out of it. So this dividing line between the somewhat managed zone and the forested area, I figured would be a nice spot where I don't really ever have to cross. I don't really ever have to go. And I can put all the brush in a linear pattern there. And that can absorb, basically as much brush as this will ever produce. And it has the added impact of preventing deer travel. They really don't like crossing through crisscrossed little diameter stuff that their feet will fall through, their hooves. So anyway, all this stuff is going to get moved over into that slash wall. And then that will continue to help me direct the deer around the orchard. And I'll show you the next spot where the blueberry planting is going to go this spring. I've got a little bit of extra work to do there, directing the deer a little bit further. Also, some tools that have really helped me out, in some gear doing this kind of work, because this is really, there's multiflora rose, there's young black locust. It's very brushy and very grabby. So I just use my chainsaw helmet with the face shield down, the ear muffs down. Then you can sort of walk through. Sometimes little stuff will get into the sides. You can use some safety glasses. That's probably a pretty good idea. And then this tool is really nice. This is sort of, I just call it a brush hook. I don't know if it has a better name than that, but it allows you to just go like that. It opens up and then it closes, and then you're pulling with a really nice handle, and then you let go and you got to take it off a little bit. But I really like it because sometimes you can have an awkward angle and then your wrists are hurting, and this thing, just you push it down, it opens, sort of like the auto grabbing hook. Makes things really easy to move around, easy on the wrists, and you don't have to. Sometimes, especially with black locust, but a lot of plants, there's thorns, and you don't really want to grab that with your hands. So here you don't have to as much. And then I use these Rhino tree climbing pants. I got them from a friend. They're incredible. They won't rip with almost any kind of thorn. And then I just use an old jacket because I don't have any super nice one. This will get ripped up a little bit. Well, we're getting there, but it's tough work. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff I've yet to move, and this is not the easiest material to move in. But as you can see, there are like big chunky rocks and boulders, and so this is not really, there's not much I can do about it beyond like really getting an excavator and like making it maintainable with a mower of some kind. But I also haven't done this for, I think, 3 years. So, one session of very brambly, uncomfortable work every 3 years in this zone. At least I don't mind it now so badly. We'll see when I'm on session 5 or 6 later on in my life. But I think that this is pretty much the holding pattern. As long as I cut back this locust, the mugwort isn't going to go anywhere. They get rejuvenated by more light. The locust comes back. I don't think that there would be much succession in this. I have left a couple, sort of hard to see. I got planted a few trees in here, and that's a nice, I really can't see that at all. There's a walnut right there, so the black walnut will take over this spot. There's a hickory. But it's gonna take a long time for them to get a lot of growth through this kind of rowdy competition. Well, it might not look too different, but there was a lot of trudging through every kind of bramble that's here. Multiflora rose, lots of blackberry. The multiflora rose is the absolute most uninviting. For those of you who don't know, they have this incredible sprawling tendency. So there's the base cluster of stems, and then they come up and reach out very far and dangle, and even just this tiny little tip will grab you. See those? They're really back hooked, and they are sharp. You can't just have that hooked in you and pull away and break the barb. No, they really dig in. Anyway, they slow things down a lot. So, and those will get enormous. Those can get, I don't know, the stems can get over an inch in diameter. This thing can get like 20 feet tall. It can sort of clamber up trees if they are around. It's like half vine. It's a very amorphous plant. I'll probably come through and cut those. Burning them would be great if there was, you know, controlled burning option here. There really isn't though, unfortunately. So all that material is in this brush wall. No deer are gonna pass through this eastern side of the orchard now, which is pretty nice. In fact, next time I do this, it might be so impenetrable that sheep wouldn't be able to pass, in which case I could use that as actual fencing, fence the other side of the orchard, and then have this whole thing get browsed. But I don't know if that will ever happen. Either way, was not looking forward to that task, but it only took, with cutting and moving, it was less than 3 hours, and I only have to do that once every 2 or 3 years, so not terrible. And you're limited in options when you've got stuff like this in the management zone. You can't just let it grow up, because then it'll start to shade out your crop trees, and you want to manage it effectively, but don't put a lot of energy into it, and I don't want to use a whole ton of wood chipper gas and all that kind of stuff. So this is my solution, and I hope I don't kick myself later on for having an impenetrable brush wall in what turns out to be the wrong spot, but I don't think it will be.